After saying goodbye to Ayla, Byron stared at the spot where Ayla had been kneeling. He clung to Cloud, who was trying to bring the girl to him, without saying a word. "Master, do you have something to tell me?" Cloud, unable to bear the uncomfortable atmosphere any longer, silently opened his mouth. "It's strange." "What does it mean?" "You saw it too." "When I told him to kill Roderick's son, he hesitated." "When have you seen her disobey my orders?" "Suspicious." "You didn't notice, did you?" Byron rested his chin on his left hand and tapped the bridge of his nose with his index finger, deep in thought. No matter how much he thought about it, something was bothering him. The expression on her face when she looked at him was very similar to that of her mother, Ophelia, when she looked at him. A feeling of deep disgust, as if I were witnessing something terrible. Of course, Byron even loved that expression on Ophelia's face. Wasn't his haughty, sullen attitude adorable? But Ayla was different. He didn't raise her like that. It made her love him unconditionally and follow him. And yet, the girl's expression resembled Ophelia's. Is it because of my mood? It could have been a simple mistake. Ayla had grown up a lot lately, shedding her childishness. He hadn't been stunned several times, even drunk, by mistaking her for Ophelia. Yeah, so I could have let it pass as a mistake. But still, something bothers me. Byron drank his liquor impatiently. So, what do you think? You are the one who has seen that girl up close, right? Well, I guess it was the idea of killing a newborn that bothered her. Girls that age tend to be quite delicate. He simply hesitated because he was worried about harming the life of an innocent young girl. It wasn't a far-fetched story. After all, Ayla had shown herself many times as a girl who liked cute animals and pretty clothes. Yes, it could be true. Byron nodded at Cloud's opinion. But that didn't mean that the small doubts that plagued him had completely disappeared. Look carefully. Make sure the girl does not have frivolous thoughts. So he planned to use his most trusted servant to spy on Ayla. Everything was perfectly planned. Yes, my lord. Except his loyal subject had already fooled him. Scott and Debbie lived in a part of the world. Deep in the mountains, it was a place where no trace of human hand could be found, except for the couple's house. Her husband, Scott, occasionally hunted small game or caught small fish in the nearby creek, and his wife, Debbie, cooked meat deliciously with vegetables from the garden in front of their house. It was a simple, quiet, and happy life. Scott and Debbie didn't always live in such a remote place. It was a small rural town, but there was a time when they lived like everyone else, getting along with their neighbors. Scott, a carpenter, was known for his skill even in neighboring towns, and his income was not bad, so the family of 3, including his only son, Weiss, could live without worrying about hunger. But their happiness did not last long. One winter, Weiss died of pneumonia. The couple's frustration at having to bury their young son in their hearts was indescribable, but they overcame it with their love for each other and tried to start a new life. Unfortunately, his misfortune did not end there. The betrayal of a trusted friend left Scott in debt overnight. They could no longer stay in their beloved hometown and had to leave with only what they were wearing. So they wandered from place to place to avoid debt collectors, and finally built a house deep in the mountains and lived there alone. Disillusioned with human relationships due to the betrayal of a trusted friend, they settled in this quiet place where they would not have to interact with anyone. Then, after decades, an unexpected visitor arrived. One night, a woman's voice knocked on the door of her unattended cabin, asking for help. "Help me, is there anyone inside?" The couple, who had lived for more than 20 years hearing only each other's voices, looked at each other. Their expressions seemed to confirm that they were not hallucinating. After confirming that neither of them had hearing problems, the couple carefully opened the sturdy door that Scott had built to protect against attacks by wild animals. Of course, he held a crossbow in his hand, used to hunt deer or rabbits. Who are you? Can I stay with you just one night? I have a little daughter with me. When Scott looked through the crack in the door, a mother and her daughter were standing there, dressed in thin, threadbare clothing. The weather had warmed enough for spring flowers to bloom at the foot of the mountain, but there on the slope the nights were still cold. Sleeping outdoors in such thin clothing was a sure way to get sick, especially for a small child. The couple, suddenly remembering their long-dead son Weiss, invited the strangers to their home. They wanted to know why they went so far into the mountains at that time of night. When Debbie brought out an aromatic infusion that she had collected in the mountains and asked her about the situation, the woman hugged her daughter by the shoulder and began to tell her story. My husband died, and I was running from debt collectors, and I ended up deep in the mountains. I couldn't even grab the clothes I was wearing, and I barely managed to escape with my daughter. The red-eyed woman said this, burying her face in her handkerchief. It was a really unfortunate situation. It was as if they were looking into the past of a couple who had to leave their beloved hometown and settle here. Oh, how hard it must have been for you. Is there no one you can turn to? Relatives or acquaintances, for example. When the loving couple comforted the woman and asked her this question, the woman bit her lip and opened her mouth. My older sister lives in a village beyond this mountain. I wonder how difficult it would be to take a girl there. After all, the road is hard. Even if we went, I don't know if I could help us. The woman spoke sadly, stroking her daughter's silver hair. And the couple, upon hearing his story, exchanged glances. They felt sorry and wanted to do something to help. We can take care of the girl if necessary, so why don't you go see your older sister first? They also fired us for something similar, so I feel bad. The woman seemed to hesitate before the couple's proposal. I guess it's a little awkward leaving a girl with someone you just met. But we are not strange people. Scott and Debbie, perhaps thinking her hesitation was because she was hesitant to leave her daughter with a stranger, explained how harmless they were. But the reason why the woman hesitated was not that. He looked at them with a puzzled face. No, it's not that. I just thought it would be too annoying. If you could take care of it, I would greatly appreciate it. No, that's why. If so, you can relax and go. Anyway, we're going to live off what we grow ourselves, so feeding one person doesn't cost much, and the girl seems very kind and polite. Debbie looked at the little girl, who was sitting quietly, looking only at her mother, with warm eyes. It's not that the girl didn't have good manners and seemed calm. She seemed calm for her age, but at first glance, she seemed so stern and modest that it seemed like she wouldn't get into trouble. And above all, she was incredibly beautiful. With her peculiar silver hair and mystical blue eyes, she looked like a fairy from the stories your parents told you when you were little. Neither Scott nor Debbie had ever seen a girl so pretty. Then, I'll ask you a favor. I'll pick her up soon, so for now, I have to pay for the food, so please order me something. The girl will learn quickly because she has very skillful fingers. Hey, what? Do you think we are so rude as to force guests to do things for us? Scott waved his hand and stubbornly refused, but the girl's mother insisted that she was not okay. This way, the girl will feel better. Right, Ayla? Yes, Mom. As the woman caressed her daughter's back and asked her lovingly, the girl named Ayla nodded and spoke for the first time. Even her voice was calm and elegant, and she was so beautiful that the couple looked at her with pride, as if Ayla were their own niece. You must be tired. I'll put you to bed soon. Get some sleep, even if it's just for a little while. This way you will have energy for the long trip. Debbie quickly prepared a bed for mother and daughter. It was a makeshift bed of dry grass, but thanks to the soft leather mattress that covered it, it was a comfortable place to sleep. The couple watched as mother and daughter fell asleep, hugging each other lovingly, and clicked their tongues, lamenting that something so sad could happen to such a loving mother and daughter. The couple's eyes were filled with a mixture of pride and pity for mother and daughter. Scott and Debbie turned off the lights they had left on and headed to their bedroom. And that night, the couple didn't know how difficult it was for Ayla to endure that moment, having to call her enemy, not her mother, and fall asleep in her arms.